Okay, so this is how you are using a heat gun. So using a heat gun, it is a object that looks like this, a little bit like a hairdryer, but it blows heat out of here that directly will melt things, etc. Now, you can do this with anything that's kind of plasticky or plastic based. So something like this. This is a fabric called organza. It's quite see-through. And it effectively is made up of quite a high plastic content, so when it is heated up it will melt. With this you have a couple of heat settings, so you've got the low, the off and the high. Now you would start off on the low, you would hold your piece of fabric really carefully and you would slowly start heating sections of it up. And you should be able to see that parts of it will then start to warp. Like that. Now, the higher setting will sometimes get holes, etc. in your fabric. It adds quite a lot of texture. So it will create something like that. Now that gives quite a lot of texture, and you can also add sewing. So you could add sewing on here first and then melt it on top of like that. You can also, using the low setting, create different shapes. Now, sort of thing I mean is circles, for example. So if you're using something to go around, you can then direct the heat in a way that will create circular shapes. Kind of like that. So you're directing the heat underneath. So it's melting around it. So that creates a different kind of texture like that. So that could be experimented with further to create more texture. Something like that. The heat gun can also be used on plastic things as well, and it gives a very similar effect, but it will melt it a lot in a different kind of way. that gives quite a lot of texture to plastic bags, that kind of thing. That can then be used and sewn on. Similar effect on a different coloured plastic. The only thing to bear in mind with this is that because it is heating it, it is shrinking it as well. So bear that in mind when you are adding this on.